Hey there, Leo fam. How's it going? Thank you so much for joining me for this tarot reading. Let's see what the rest of January in 2025 has in store for you, shall we? Just a general positive vibes message, because that's how I tend to interpret the tarot and the like. So, yeah, see what we can get into together. Okie dokie. As per usual, I have shuffled all of the decks. So let's go ahead and cut the archetypes first, beginning with the healer. Interesting. This is feeling very similar to the card drawn for Aries. The womb is what they received. But it feels like it's still that same vibe of going back into a safe space, finding one if you know one, and healing, right? Remembering what your passions are, like you've been adrift too long, taking care of everything else and doing all the things that you thought that you were supposed to do, but there's something within you that is needing attention, that is needing to heal. The healer's mission then becomes to move through the comfort of forgetting, through the veils of ignorance and denial. Okay, whatever that was. To reveal the radiance that already exists. The healer approaches this in multiple ways, from multiple angles, knowing the cycle of healing is not linear. It is a multi-layered and circuitous process, always leading back to its own origin. Much like the Ouroboros, right? We shall see. What about the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle deck? What would that like to add to the tale? Voyage. You already have all of the answers. We have this person checking out a map. It's almost like, oh, is this what a midlife crisis looks like? But you think you're too young for it, and you probably are. Because really, what the heck is a midlife crisis? It's someone who's reached a point in their life at any point, any age, where they recognize that maybe you got carried away with something. Maybe there was something that you were just naturally good at and you rolled with it, and now you're just like, but it's not, it doesn't make my soul purr. It's not what I like. Somewhere along the lines, people sometimes forget that they can change their minds, right? And through the mundane day-to-day stuff, we can forget that we already know what it is that we want, that we wish for, all of that, right? And sometimes we need to have someone who can be like a mentor to us, to help us, like therapy can, or life coaches, where you just need someone to keep you on track, you know what I mean? To help you with new threads. And for some, you've come to realize that you need to be that for yourself. The teacher, the mentor, the life coach, the therapist, like you are teaching yourself, right? And maybe that's a part of the healing process because it's a part of you learning a new form of self-care. That makes any sense? Let's see if we can reach clarification or whatever with the tarot cards, maybe. This is YouTube. Let's keep that mood light. Keep it nice and simple and be silly. Why? Because I can. And I tend to think of the tarot as like its own story. So these may be the prologue. So maybe we can get some clarification starting with chapter 1. The Two of Pentacles. Everything about this card speaks of balance. From the infinity symbol in their hands, in the palm of their dang hands, to their balancing on one leg. They have like two ships back there on this, one big, one small, but they're both handling it. this person has, their balance is fine. They're not even dropping the stuff that's in their hands, right? Not only is balance really important to you right now, it's I don't know, right now I'm also kind of feeling like I'm wearing clothing that doesn't fit anymore. You know what I mean? And the waistband is like digging into my stomach, and this is just like, no, right? Like it's time to move or something. It's like there's an itch to get out of here, but it's not so much. I use this a lot, but like the molting, right? Like it's just time to get off this old skin. And I don't know, what is it though exactly? Because it's all a part of this healing process though, right? What's chapter 2? The 2 of frickin' wands. All right, we have 2 2s. Hello. Yes, we do. 25, 34, 2, 2. And this 2 is on solid ground and has the world in the palm of their hand, right? And they're looking out like, where shall we go next? Anytime a plane tends to go overhead in my readings, I'm like, where are we going next, fam? Because you tell me, right? I like adventures. Let's go. And this person is ready for a new adventure. You are ready for a new adventure. Maybe you realized you were tethered to something that didn't actually belong to you. And there's a security going on here. There's this knowing oneself and knowing what you're capable of and figuring out what matters most to you right now and being able to fulfill that for yourself, right? What's chapter 3? The 6 of Pentacles. So you may notice that there's someone passing coins or whatever to people that seemingly are at a lower, point than them, but that person is also holding scales, is representing equality, right? To give is to receive is what I always think of when I see this card. Sorry, keep getting interrupted. So honestly, it's another card about balance, right? With things like the Ouroboros being mentioned and an infinity symbol also coming into play. What's next, fam? The 9 of Wands. Again, what is going on with you fire signs today and all these wands? Who'd have thunk? So the 9 of Wands is speaking of we're nearing the end of a cycle and it is not time to give up. You're in a safe space, right? I feel like it's tapping into the energy of these cards. Like with Aries, it was the womb. The safe space energy to be able to heal and remember what makes your soul purr. That's been like a general theme in my readings for a bit now. Like all this transformation that so many of us have been going through. So, but that means it's also speaking to me about taking that breather, taking that moment, that sanity break, right? What's going to come up underneath the 2 of Pentacles? The 10 of Swords. Okay. Yeah, I bet you need to heal, fam. The 10 of Swords. Like, look at this card. There's been some dark nights of the soul. There's been a lot of, people have really hurt you. You've gone through a lot of pain and you've learned your own version of self-infliction. But I feel like it's also speaking to that difference that I've been speaking of at different times, like general readings and such. There being a difference between helping and dictation, helping and self-sacrifice, right? And that's coming up underneath the Two of Pentacles for me, is speaking of figuring out your boundaries. Like someone has really been able to recognize that maybe you didn't have the boundaries that you thought you had set, or at least they haven't been being respected for a while. And that's what this cycle has been about, is being able to find that balance between the give and take and the give and receive, right? Between helping and sacrificing. And I like that we got a pairing that it was, while they're not next to each other in how I lay out my cards, I didn't do it in 4 and then 4. It was still a 9 and a 10 as I drew them. But this 10 came up underneath the Two of Pentacles. And a 10 and the 9 talking, or, you know, speaking of the ending of cycles is also speaking of the beginning, right? So maybe, since this is the Swords, there's someone who's worried about this loop. But like, you're ready to get off this ride though, fam, right? Because you're looking out, and this is genuinely, to me, as far as I'm concerned, a card of where shall we go next, just like I was saying and asking, right? And it's not just about you. So where is that balance between helping others, because like I was literally just reading with someone talking about how, once they hit a point of seemingly having a bunch of money, it also felt like there still wasn't enough money because their family and friends and whomever, they had such difficulty saying no, that they were just depleting everything that they'd been working for, right? So it's like, well, no, I'm not living in Calabasas, even though I'm an actor, right? A working actor. And going that length of time where, because this is someone who their big breakthrough role as far as like film and TV go didn't happen until their 40s. So there was a lot of time of, yes, being a working actor and able to help your family, your parents, your siblings, whomever the heck is close to you, that, well, it's your electric bill, it needs to be paid, right? But not realizing that, like, sometimes we're working jobs where the paydays just aren't so dependable. Yeah, when you get paid, they're pretty nice. It's cushy, but that might be meant to see you through the rest of the year. And that was only 10 grand. Do you know what I mean? And existence we're just not in a time anymore where you can necessarily just simply exist, right? Something about existence, your existence, costs money, right? You need sustenance. You need some kind of climate that enables your body to survive. We all make choices and what that means and what that looks like for us, right? But sometimes we get lost along the way and we think we know exactly what we're doing and we can be so sure of ourselves. But then we don't even realize how much self-sacrifice we've been doing, what people-pleasing looks like for us, right? Especially if it can come from a place where it's like, I never want anyone to ever feel this way. What I've had to go through, right? Don't worry about me. I got it, right? But even though this 10 of Swords is speaking of pain, it's also speaking of resilience and wisdom gained. The things that we learn that make us who we are, that enable us to live confidently and with courage and clarity, right? Swords are the mind. This is stuff that's been in here that people have probably had no idea was going on. And it's no wonder why balance is extremely important to you right now. And that's how this tarot portion of the tale began. It began with you healing the whole story and looking to grow, expand, and being reminded to not look to anything. That's another part of this card. I'm sorry. That's another part to this card that I was like, there's something else, Mary. Not holding back your growth. Right? Like recognizing when you're not going to find the answers outside of yourself. Right? This card says like you already have all the answers. I often feel like when it comes to things like tarot and such, that these are things we already know. All that therapy and life coaches and, you know, whatever route we take. Because I honestly feel like these days, present day tarot readers, at least the ones that I follow here on YouTube, are kind of like life coaches. Sometimes they're going to get brutally honest with you. And most of the time, though, it feels super positive vibes. And that's, I also feel like one of the things that can make it so addictive. And you won't even realize that you've moved on to another video and then another. And you're like, whoa, how did I lose track of time? It's because it was such positive vibes. And most of the time, that's really all that we need. Someone to look at us and say, hey, I believe in you. You know exactly what you're doing. You know what's going on. You know what you've survived. So what's the problem here, really? Right? In whatever tone or vibe or whatever the heck. So what's going to come up underneath the Two of Wands? Well, now you're just being a smartass. That's hilarious. Okay, so no, really, where are we going next? Because we've got the Two of Wands, but then the Three of Wands is talking about growth, expansion, exactly what the heck I was... Okay, whatever. I love it when that shit happens. Anyway, this person is like standing up on their vista point, right? Like looking down over there. The idea is these are like cargo ships or something out in that sea, right? And they're in charge of it all. And it's like, okay, so that's going to go out to China. You know, that's going to go somewhere overseas. It's going to go to some other continent, and that's my goods. That's my business. You know, like ready for more. Okay, now we've hit this step. Now it's time for the next tier, right? But it's wands, so it's passion. It's creativity, right? It's going that next step, not just the first step, but knowing that there's a third and a fourth that's going to follow that once you just get going, right? So maybe we're thinking like a snowball effect going on here, right? But out of 6 cards, 3 of them are wands. I'm just saying. What's coming up underneath the 6 of Pentacles? The 5 of Wands. Okay, here. And then we just need a 4, right? I mean, we've got a 34. So, is it a matter of ego? Or are you recognizing that there is no real competition, right? There's you. No one else can be you. If they were to be doing your life but their way, well, that's just them, right? So why would it be your ego? Why would your ego be messing with your head at this point in life and everything that you've been through? No one compares to you. Any kind of this, what if it's healthy competition? Just a little bit of sparring, friendly debate, but really, because what competition, right? What doesn't miss you or what's meant for you isn't going to miss you, right? If we believe in things like fate, even in iota, we're playing with tarot cards, so I'm just saying, right? So what if instead of looking around at others, any of your peers, these are your peers, people who are up for the same job, maybe you work in a very competitive environment, right? what if they're sizing you up too and they're like, holy crap, right? We have no idea how we inspire others because we're in our own heads, right? We're living our own lives. We have no idea how you inspire others. So maybe instead of seeing competition, you can see people who are showing you what's possible. You know, but done their way, right? The examples, the possibilities, and healthy competition. People who are just as eager to be there as you are, and you're all going to kick ass together. Like, what? Right? So we don't really have anything else that's, I mean, other than the balance, the equality. It is coming up underneath that card. So maybe that's it. Maybe it is leaning toward the healthy competitionness. Maybe it is keep your ego in check because there's no need for it to be running the show. There's equality going on. If you're open up to that, then you're not taking shit from anybody else, right? You're not putting up with bad behavior and people who disrespect, right? You're not going around walking that way, right? So why wouldn't it all be positive vibes? What does your ego really have to say about that, right? Yeah. What's going to come up underneath the Nine of Wands? It's the Knight of Wands. Underneath the Knight of Wands. Like, bam. Okay. Alrighty then. So, Leos. This is one of the fastest nights of the tarot. And I'm pretty sure they showed up for Aries as well. So we're talking like a week, 2 weeks or so. Because the Knight of Swords is the fastest one. That's more like hours, maybe a day. Knight of Wands is maybe weeks. At most a month. I can speak, I swear. I try every day. So, moving on. But this is speaking to me of all this passion that we've been talking about this whole time. That's just boiling and bubbling underneath the surface, right? That has been like not really been allowed to play. Life has been a bit too serious and painful long enough, right? Now it's time for some balance. Now it's time for you to thrive, right? And in so thriving, like you're going to be one of those people who's kind and sharing because you're beginning to truly, as a human, understand the balance of life and energy and all of that woo-woo shit. Some of that woo-woo shit is very real, okay? Otherwise, we wouldn't be vibing together right now, right? I'm just saying. But this can be a message coming in hot. By the time we get to like the Page of Wands and the Knight of Wands and the King and Queen, they've been through all of these already, you know? Been there, done that. They know what they're doing. They're very secure within themselves. And they might have some scars, but fire will never affect them again. This knight is wearing salamanders on their outfit. The king has a little salamander Betty, but it also has lions on the golden throne, doesn't he? Yes, he does, Leos. All right. So what's going to be the epilogue to this story? My goodness, hello. It's another 5 card. It's the Hierophant. But I want you to recognize that this Hierophant is wearing red. And red tends to be a color of passion, right? So the Hierophant speaks of sharing wisdom, whether we're actually talking about organized religion or school, leading a company, right? Institutions and rules and regulations, court systems, right? Teachers. It could be just vlogging on YouTube and sharing your story, sharing your story with others, writing a memoir, whatever, and helping others who maybe they don't know anybody else who's going through what they're going through. Nobody else seems to understand, and just using the default language, right? Oh, so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Whatever fits, right? Like signing a freaking, school yearbook at the end of the school year, at least here in America. But it's, to me, speaking of sharing wisdom. You've learned a lot. That's one thing about the Ten of Swords. It's swords, that's the mind. Whatever has been going on, whatever you've gone through, evolved from, like a phoenix, right? Right? I mean, wands, hello, there's a lot of fire. A lot of fire. With some air, you got to keep those flames going, right? But there's also pentacles and a freaking scale, in case we weren't figuring it out. Balance, equality, taking care of yourself, because it could go either way, right? If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to blow up like a pressure, not like, I always think of like the valve, right? To let off some steam and such, right? What happens when you don't? What happens when you let your ego rule the show? I mean, it can be in there too. But what happens when there's balance in your heart, mind, and your soul, all of it, those really super important organs in your body, when they work together, when it's all in harmony, and you're able to respect your passions and your drive and honor your courage, right? You've been through so much, and now it's time to live, okay? And you can help others. You either way have wisdom to share. So I don't know if this Knight of Wands is you and your passion just being like, all right, let's do this then, or if it's an actual message coming in. But it's responding to a question that you asked. So you tell me, what are the extra notes? If I can pick them up. Exactly whose permission do you need was sticking to the table. Interesting. Cutting the deck in half. And quicksand. It's not quite what you think it is. So my note is, it feels worse than it is emotionally. But be careful with those assumptions, right? Someone tells me that that's a part of the Ten of Swords with you, is some incorrect assumptions that did not serve, that enabled you to lose track of time. Whatever it is that's been on your mind, it's things of the past. It's time to move on. And this is January of 2025 is a great month to do that, fam. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I feel like I kind of got a little whoop, but I came back around. It's okay. I really appreciate the company, and always remember that I love you.